Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. Today we're going to be doing a track guide for this week's Daily Race B at Trial Mountain in Group 3. Now for this lap, I haven't pushed it 100%. We just did a few laps in time trial whilst we were at the end of the stream. So I just basically wanted to get a solid lap in there, just to give you the basics of the track in terms of braking points, racing lines, and gears and stuff like that. Now for this guide I'm using the Porsche. I don't think it's the fastest car for the time trial, but I think it's a pretty comfortable car to drive. So I think the majority of people are probably going to enjoy driving this car more than some of the others, because the Mazda might have more potential on this track, I think, the Mazda Vision, but it's a little bit sketchy on the limits, so I think this car might suit you a bit more. So if you do enjoy these videos, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comment section if it's helped you out. I do enjoy reading them comments. But let's get on with this guide and try and help you get as high up that leaderboard as we can, so you can start a little bit higher up in this sprint race at Daily Race B. Okay, so first things first, coming off the final chicane, try and get yourself a reasonable exit off this corner. So up into second gear, get on the power and try and get it so that you can stay on the power without hitting that barrier. Now, very important not to hit the barrier, because you'll lose a bit of momentum on the straight. Now the damage model is nowhere near as bad as it used to be, so you won't get damage as easy, but still you want to get as much speed off that exit as you can. Going into turn one, you're going to be, just as you come off this curb, as you're rotating it into the corner, you're going to start putting the tiniest amount of brake. Now keep your eye on that braking input, because it is a very small amount, basically a little dab of the brake. Staying in fifth gear, you're going to really attack this curb. Just be careful you don't cut it too much, but you can take a lot off that corner. Now again, as we approach the second corner here, you're going to attack the curb again. You can go right over this curb, staying in fifth gear again, controlling the throttle through this section, so on and off the throttle every now and then, just to help with the rotation of the car, keep the stability. You can see my throttle inputs there, just coming off the throttle ever so slightly, just to help us through some of these corners. Now into this braking zone, we're braking just at the end of the yellow-orange barrier on the right there. You're going to brake right at the end there, and you're going to start rotating it in through this tunnel. You want to get this car rotated into the apex of the tunnel against the wall. So as you turn in, you downshift to second gear, trail brake in, then once you feel the car's gripping up, you can start getting back on that throttle. So you can see the throttle inputs going in. Let the car run out to the full width of the track if you need to, and then back over to the left hand side. Now I'm going to use this rock here as a reference. I always use it. Just brake just before that rock, and that should be a good reference for slowing the car down. Now down to second gear, you want to get this kind of a wide apex so that you skim the apex there and you can get on the throttle as early as you can. Very important to get on that throttle nice and early, and then working your way into this next right hand corner. So as you come to the end of the curb on the left hand side, you can see it there. That's where I'm going to put the braking inputs in, just before the end of the curb. And we're going to go down into second gear very briefly to rotate the car through this corner. So you can see down to second gear, help with the rotation, then back on that throttle, and then up into third gear. And now we're going to swing the car over to the right hand side, just as we come into the tunnel entry there, onto the brakes. And again, just a tiny amount of braking input here. Now you want to get this car rotated into this left apex as narrow as possible, almost going over the leaves, because the more narrow you take this line, the grip is there, and you can get on that throttle a little bit earlier and carry a little bit more speed out the exit. So you can see, keeping it nice and narrow on the throttle early. Be careful you don't hit the wall on the exit by the bridge there. Very easy to do. And then work your way up this straight. Now revving the Porsche out, obviously pretty much to maximum revs, and then as you come to the downhill section here, so keep the revs up in fifth gear, and then just as you come to the top of the crest of the hill, you're going to go into sixth gear. And now I'm going to use this signpost on the right as a reference. Now I'm going to brake a little bit past that. I just use that as a guideline of where I'm going to brake. Now braking just fraction past that, you can see braking inputs going in here, and you want to get the car rotated and slowed down and try and hug the inside apex of this corner. Now you're going to see I brake a little bit deep into this corner, means I miss the apex ever so slightly. I would have rather been on that purple line there, but I'm going to end up going on that red line and lose a bit on the exit. You can actually see the ghost come back up to the car here, where I lose a 1/10.5 at least, I think, here. So you can see the ghost just appear on my screen there, lost maybe a 1/10.5 there. And now we're going to work our way on this uphill section. Now for this uphill section, you can see nicely there are some cones on that you can use for a braking reference. You've got the 2 cones, then the 1 cone. You're actually braking on the 2 cones. I always use the 1 cone as more of a reference where I'm rotating it in. So yeah, that's what I use for my reference for braking, that 1 cone on its own. Now into this corner, nice and tight to the apex, second gear, then on the throttle, and then working your way down into this next left-hand corner. This is a tricky left-hand corner up here. So what you want to do here is, just as you come to this point here, just before on the way downhill, you're going to get on the brakes nice and early. So you can see my braking input going in very, very early, down to second gear. and that's given me plenty of time to get this left-hand tyre onto the curb and then get on that throttle nice and early. Now, you want to get on this throttle as early as you can to carry as much momentum out of that corner, because it's an acceleration zone. You can gain a tenth easily there by being really aggressive on the throttle. Next braking zone, I'm going to use this little bit of moss on the wall on the right-hand side. Again, braking short of that, but using that as a reference to where I'm going to start getting on the brakes. And then down through the gears, down to first gear, and then you want to get this car rotated into this final chicane. Very important, this chicane, to get the car into the first part, skim the left-hand curb, and then really rotate the car now, because you want to get the exit speed to go towards the finishing line. So you can see a tiny bit of braking input going in there. Again, it's just to rotate the car, and then we're going to go up to second gear, cut some of that corner on the entry there, and on the throttle as aggressively as you can without hitting the barrier on the left-hand side, and working your way all the way up to the finishing line. We're going to go over the line on a 1 minute 49.5. Like I say, I'm pretty sure we can get that to a 48.9, 49.0, something like that. It definitely feels possible for me to do that, but as a rough guide, I think this should help you out. So watch this lap again from the chase camera. You're going to see what we're talking about now with some of the rotating this car in. So through here, you can keep your eye on that throttle input, where we're using the throttle rather than braking through this section, because if you brake, probably going to end up losing control of the car, and also it's going to lose you a lot of time. So using the throttle rather than the brake, again through here, letting that car rotate in. Once the car starts, the Porsche is really good at rotating as well when you get off the throttle. It really does turn very nice into these corners. So once you're off that throttle, onto that throttle aggressively, again you can see getting close to the wall but not too close there. Again, using that curb on the left at the end of the point and just rotating it in. And now this corner here, this is what I'm saying about taking a narrow line. You can see the left-hand tyre kicking up dust because we're taking such a narrow line through them. Just be careful you don't hit the wall on the exit. It's so easy to do. You can see I was actually very, very close to skimming into the wall on the exit there. And then just power your way through this section. Like I say, this is all about just holding them revs to its maximum point. Now, this is where some other cars are better than the Porsche, because the Porsche isn't the fastest in a straight line, but it does make up some time in some of these corners. So you can see, again, miss the apex quite a bit there. You can see how I lost quite a bit of time there, actually. If we would have took a tighter line, got on that throttle early, probably would have gained a tenth to 2 tenths. Again, them cones, you can see the 2 cones and the 1 cone. You actually brake on the 2 cones, but I always tend to use the 1 cone as a reference because it's easier to see. So that's how I do it. Now into this corner, again, second gear, onto that throttle nice and early, and then power your way into that final chicane. Again, this is all about, like I said before, it's all about exit speed. So getting the car slowed down, then rotated, and then concentrate on getting a smooth exit. You need to get this car accelerating out of this corner as smooth and as nice as possible, and keeping it in a straight line all the way to the finish, and that's a reasonably solid lap. Hopefully this will help you out on the time trial. Hopefully it'll improve you in your race as well. Let me know in the comments if it does. I'll be back with more of these guides and the new time trial guide when that is released on Thursday, the sport mode one. So make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. See you all soon, everyone.